guys, and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is an unsolved one. It was suggested by one of you guys, so thank you for that. I appreciate any suggestions you guys have. And it is the case of Dena Dean. There are a lot of suspicions as to who has done this, so I would love your opinions on it as well. There's a lot of people who think that it's basically cut and dry, but there's just not the evidence there to prove it, essentially. So yeah, this case is still being worked on as of like a couple of years ago. So I genuinely hope that one day it is solved, because it's been, you know, decades in the making. So yeah, let's jump in. Dena was born on the 26th of February in 1982 to Diane and Larry. She was such a lovely, lively young girl. She was very interested in cars. It was said that she was very much a daddy's girl, and they lived in Oklahoma. She was very much a family body, loved doing things with her family, and like I said, she had a huge interest in cars, so they would make a day of, sort of a point of going one day per week, pretty much at the weekend, to watch the racing. And that was, you know, what they did all the time. She also was known to be very intelligent. She was actually studying to become an attorney when she got older, and she was actually on the honor roll at her school too. So she was just doing really well, loving life, enjoying spending time with her family like she always had. But she hit her sweet 16, and her shift sort of went a little bit from cars and more onto boys and guys. They started paying a bit more interest in her. She started paying a bit more interest in them. Now, it was always said that Dena very much so was very open with her parents and would, you know, bring these guys who she would dated back to the house. And, you know, she would introduce them to her parents. So they thought that they knew everyone and was very open about all of that. She also had a job at Arby and would earn money from that. And just really enjoyed that as well. She really enjoyed socialising with her friends, her family, everyone. Just such a lovely, sweet girl. And she knew what she wanted out of life as well. You know, she was aiming to become an attorney and she was studying hard for that. And that was where she was going to go. But now we come to the 6th of June in 1998 and everything changes, sadly. Dena had gone to work, she had a shift, and the plan was that that day they were going to go to the races like they normally would. So she was going to do a shift, meet up with her parents later on at the races, and, you know, enjoy the time there. But she rang her parents and said that she wasn't going to go to the races. Well, if they allowed her to, of course, she was asking for their permission. Because this guy called Michael Converse, wanted her to meet up with him at his work. He worked at this store behind a till, I think, pretty much. Well, not all the time, obviously, but he worked at this grocery store, something like that. And he wanted to meet up with her. So she asked her parents if she could do. They had never actually met this Michael. He was one person. Like I said, she was very open with her boyfriends and, you know, introduced them all the time. But this Michael, she never actually did. So they'd never met him. And because of that, they said that she could go still. But that she had to stay outside in the car park, you know, in a public area, basically. So that's what she agreed to do. She was going to go meet him instead of going to the races and then go back home later on, probably about 11, 12-ish. You know, she would see her parents again. The thing was that Dena never came back home again. Her parents got home. She wasn't there. They were worried initially, but they, you know, hung around, figured she would call or something like that. And when the phone rang, they were hoping that it was her, but it wasn't. It was one of her friends who actually was telling her parents that her car was still outside of the grocery store that she was going to meet Michael at, but she was nowhere to be found. So, obviously, panicked, her parents rang the police, reported her as missing, and her dad went straight over to that grocery store to look for his daughter. He couldn't find her anywhere. When he got to the car, he found that she'd got a few snacks in the car. She had a receipt so she'd gone into the store, she'd bought a few items, she had gone actually through Michael's till and then come back and got into the car at the very least. They also found a half-eaten sandwich there as well. So she had half-eaten this sandwich and then something must have happened to her. A lot of people were speculating that she had run away, but her father knew for sure, never in a million years would she have run away. It was not her, and she definitely would not have done it. So what they started to do, which is heartbreaking, was look in the bins around the grocery store, because he was thinking straight away that something bad has happened to her. She's either been kidnapped or she's been murdered and put in a bin or something like that. That's where his mind went straight away, which is devastating. And that's, that's what he was doing. They figured that she had been taken at some point. Her doors were still unlocked. The windows were all down. Oh, and sorry, that is when the parents then reported her as missing, sorry. Not before. Because they knew something was wrong. A witness then came forward to say that they had seen somebody matching Dena's description, having an argument with somebody in a red pickup truck. Now, guess what kind of car Michael had? Michael Converse. Well, he had a red pickup truck. So, straight away the interest was going towards Michael. Especially since a witness actually saw her arguing with two men and walking alongside this red pickup truck. And because of where this location was too, it was right near like a highway, a freeway, whatever you want to call it. The police were wondering as to whether, sadly, Dena had been human trafficked or something along those lines. Now, something that really made everyone focus on Michael as well was that, I don't know where it came from, but her parents came across this letter. And in this letter, she basically stated that Dena was going to tell Michael that she was pregnant with his child. Now, Michael was a little bit older. She was 16, he was 18, I believe. He was a son of a house pastor, like a preacher person. Don't really know what he is, but he did it from his own living room. And of course, all these things are stacking up. She went out to meet Michael to talk. He wanted to speak to her. After 2 or 3 days before that, she told him that she was pregnant with his child. Then she's seen arguing with two people in a truck. He owns a red truck. She went out to meet him in the first place, never came home. Everything is stacking up. So they go around to speak to Michael, and he's there with his father. And they both basically flat out deny knowing Dena. Michael didn't know her at all. Don't know who this person is. Which was immediately very strange, because everyone knew that he knew her. Her friends, one of her best friends, knew that Michael knew Dena. So why was he trying to deny that he knew her? Strange. He wasn't in a relationship with her. He never dated her. He didn't have a clue who she was. So the police did ask Michael where he was during the time of Dena's murder. When they asked about an alibi for him, he said that he was bowling. They went and checked that out, and he actually was bowling. So he did have an alibi for it. And despite all of the searches that they were doing, they couldn't find Dena anywhere. So what the police decided to do was doing like a big search area. Oh, we also took 2 polygraph tests, which he failed both of. I mean, I don't rate them anyway. I do believe that they do show sort of slightly whether someone's deceitful or not, but obviously they're not admissible in court, and I don't really like them. But yeah, he failed both of those. So what the police did was they decided that they were going to search within a specific area, like make a triangle. From where he worked to like the bowling alley and then to his own home, they made a triangle around that, and they began looking for Dena. And at this point, they told her parents that they were looking for a body, sadly. And it didn't take very long for them to find her. She was in a place called Lover's Lane, which is like quite a remote place where people go to make out and things like that, obviously. She had been there at this point for 6 days. She was very decomposed, and she was so badly mutilated that when they did an autopsy, they couldn't even find a cause of death. That's how bad it was. What they did find, though, was Dena was not pregnant, and that is a certainty. So it seems like she had actually played a prank on Michael. She maybe wanted him to pay more attention to her or something along those lines. She thought that telling him that she was pregnant would have been, you know, this idea that made him, I don't know, pay more attention to her, think about things. And seemingly, she was actually going to tell him that she lied, she pranked him, however you want to call it, on the day that she went to meet him. I guess she never got that far, maybe, I don't know. And it seems like Michael was not happy with the news that, you know, she was pregnant with his child. So she was going to tell him the truth, but I guess she never got that far. The police did not have enough evidence to charge Michael with anything or anything like that. And sadly, her case did go cold. But I have seen that retired detectives have been really, really looking into this case and proper deep diving into it. And they were all volunteering as well. They actually found that, I believe, 20 minutes before Michael's father actually arrived. And this was 20 minutes before he finished, sorry. And he also turned up at Michael's work the next day wanting his time card, which obviously would show that, like, when he left work. So bear in mind, right, my thinking here is these detectives are actually honing in on 3 people. Michael, his father, and his uncle. Those are the people they have a suspicion around. Now, if you're thinking that Michael was actually bowling at the time that Dena was taken, if that was the case, then did he get his dad, or maybe not him necessarily they all was in on this plan, say? This is just pure speculation at this point, but like I said, they are honing in on these people, so it's not super speculatory, I guess, but just bear with me. These 3 people have this plan because she's having Michael's baby, which she wasn't, but they believed so. They arranged to meet Michael there. He then went bowling so that he had an alibi at the time that his father and uncle took Dena and murdered her. Who knows? They still, to this day, deny everything. And I actually watched, I think it was a True Crime Daily video from a couple of years ago. They went to actually try and speak to these guys because this is, you know, over 20 years ago. And they're still, if they did it, are roaming free. I mean, they might not have done, but it's highly suspicious, everything around them. They went to go speak to them to see what they had to say. And apparently, like, the sheriff's department stopped them because they had a warrant to do a new search on the father's house. So yeah, it's still like ongoing. They're still really looking into it. Her parents are just so devastated that they lost their little girl at 16. She would have been like 30 odd, close to her 40s, I believe now. Maybe in her 40s. I'm not really good at math on the spot. And she will sadly always be 16. They just really want to know who did this. I know it won't bring her back, but they want a conviction, obviously, and they feel like they can then rest, I suppose. Like, you know, they will obviously never forget her, but that's what they want from this case, and of course they do. They want justice for the daughter. And it's so heartbreaking if this all occurred because of a prank. Like, you know what I mean? It's so devastating. But yeah, that is the end of this case. If you guys have enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway, that's all I have today on the case of Dena Dean. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.